ChatGPT recently announced an important update when it comes to its memory. It now has access to the information contained in all of the chats you had with the chatbot. So in this video, I would like to come back to this memory update, tell you everything I know about it, who can have access, because you see, it's not everyone yet. How is it different from the previous memory ChatGPT had about us? And also, how can you use it to your advantage as an entrepreneur, as a creative person, or as someone who works with AI in their day-to-day job? So there will be some prompts at the end of this tutorial that you can try to test this new and upgraded memory that ChatGPT rolled out. Let's get into it. Hey, what's up everyone? RonDi here. Welcome back to our AI channel. This is your place to learn everything about AI, especially if you are not a technical person, you are not a geek, or like the people who try every tool when they first come out. This is where we actually learn how to make AI work for you as non-technical people. So we continue our series about ChatGPT. If you know me, I'm a geek and I'm passionate about ChatGPT. It really changed my life. Today we talk about the recent memory upgrade that ChatGPT received. So I was greeted not so long ago by this message when I logged on to my ChatGPT, and it said, introducing new improved memory. ChatGPT can now remember more of your past chats, so you don't need to repeat yourself as often. Want to change what it knows about you? Just ask. So we are going to dive into this. The first place I went to and tried to learn a bit more about these updates was X, okay? Because OpenAI typically communicates about all of their updates on X, aka Twitter. So I found this tweet right here, starting today, and this dates from April 10th, so it's already about a month and a few weeks old, but I think this feature is an important one to come back to. That's what I wanted to do with this video. So starting today, memory in ChatGPT can now reference all of your past chats to provide more personalized responses, drawing on your preferences and interests to make it even more helpful for writing, getting advice, learning, and beyond. So what we are promised here is if we give access to ChatGPT to all our previous conversations, it will better know us and therefore craft better responses, basically responses that are taking into consideration the nuances of what we've discussed previously with the chat. So this is what we're going to dive into. I will show you how to turn it on, how to turn it off. You don't want this active on your account. But let's start with a little bit of what ChatGPT's memory is or used to be up to today. Memory in ChatGPT is not new. ChatGPT already has a memory or a memory mechanism that is already turned on so that it can remember things about you. And this memory that ChatGPT has, so the things that it remembers about you, is called reference saved memory. So let me show you first. Let's get into a ChatGPT account of mine. Okay, this is my Plus account, but the reference saved memory will work on any account planned. So in order to find this reference saved memory, just head over your profile picture, then choose settings right here. And under settings, you go to personalization. So reference saved memory should be right here. You see, reference saved memory, we already have a tutorial about this, if you remember correctly. And I will have a card to this tutorial right here. In this tutorial, I showed you a hack on how to kind of train the ChatGPT memory so it remembers everything you want it to know about you. So I highly recommend you watch this one as well, because it's a good introduction to what memory is and how to actually make it remember what you think is important. But what we're talking in this tutorial is something different, is what comes after this reference saved memory. So if we come back to our personalization settings right here in the ChatGPT, the first one is this one. So reference saved memory is exactly that. So it's everything you've asked ChatGPT to remember about you. And you can click on on the manage memory right here to see like the different memories ChatGPT has about you. And you see it's pretty extensive. One thing important to remember about these saved memories is that it has a specific amount of space that it can remember about you, a specific amount of information. And when that memory is full, it won't remember anything new. So that's why you can go back here and simply like delete or remove some memories. You can also ask ChatGPT to remember something specific about you and store it in this reference memory, reference saved memory. In order to do so, very easy, you can just tell it, okay, so ChatGPT, please remember this about me, or please save this to your memory about me, and it will remember it. And you will get access to this via these settings, personalization, save memory, and you can manage them from here. Okay, so that's what we used to have until today. Now, the novelty is that in addition to the saved memory that were there before, ChatGPT can now reference your past chats to deliver responses that feel noticeably more relevant and useful. New conversations naturally build upon what it already knows about you, making interaction feel smoother and uniquely tailored to you. Introducing the new type of memory, the new reference chat history. The first one is that this update is not available to ChatGPT users globally. Okay, there are some exceptions, some countries where the feature is not available yet. And unfortunately, me living here in Spain, I am part of this bunch of people who don't yet have access to the feature. That is, if I'm not using a VPN. I am using a VPN for the sake of this tutorial so I can access the feature and show you how it works. But in my normal workflow, I would say without the VPN, I don't have access to this yet. So this is the tweet from OpenAI. Again, the memory improvement in ChatGPT are rolling out starting today, so April 10th, to all ChatGPT Plus and Pro users except the EEA, the UK, Switzerland, Norway, Iceland, and Liechtenstein. So I didn't know what the EEA was. It turns out it's the European Economic Area, which includes pretty much all of the European countries, okay, including the UK, including Switzerland, Norway, Iceland, and Liechtenstein. So all of these countries don't yet have access to this memory update. It's probably for privacy reasons. It's much harder. The regulations are kind of like stricter in Europe when it comes to privacy related to AI, right? So fortunately for many of the ChatGPT or OpenAI's update, we are always the last ones to have access to them. So this is important to know. If you are in one of these countries, it is likely that you won't have access to the feature unless you use a VPN. Me, I'm using NordVPN. This is not an advertisement for those of you who would like to use a VPN to access these features. I will leave a link in the description. It is our affiliate link with them, but they didn't ask me to promote them or anything. It's just me sharing the tool that works for me. I personally am pretty happy about NordVPN. It's helped me in many situations, so that's why I'm sharing the link with you. The next thing you need to know is that this feature is going to be turned on by default. So let's get back to my settings right here. Reference chat history is by default going to be turned on, and you can turn it off if you don't want it to be active, but just know that it's by default, it's going to be turned on. So really there are two ways for you to know for sure that you have access to the feature. First one, if you've seen this pop up and had to close it at some point. And the second is when you come to your settings, personalization, if you see this section right here, reference chat history, that is the new feature. All right, so this is all good and well, but what if you don't want ChatGPT to remember everything you say in chats? You want to keep some stuff private, or you just don't want this memory update to affect you altogether? Well, OpenAI thought about this and they kind of addressed this in this following tweet. As always, you are in control of ChatGPT's memory. You can opt out of the referencing past chats or memory altogether at any times via the settings. So that's what I just just showed you via your settings and personalization. If you are already opted out of memory, you'll be opted out of referencing past chats by default. So if you turn off that feature, so the basic memory of ChatGPT, the saved memory, if you turn it off, it will automatically turn off the chat reference memory as well. If you turn it back on, then again, you will have the choice to maybe use or not use the reference chat history. So that is the control that OpenAI refers to in this tweet right here. Now, there is another way for you to work around the chat memory update. If you kind of want to have that on a regular basis, but you have a few conversations that you would prefer not to share with ChatGPT, well, there is another way to do this. Okay, let me show you. You can always start a temporary chat. You see on top of your screen, there should be a temporary chat right here. When you click here, so you will kind of change a little bit the interface of ChatGPT, and you will see very big and bold here, temporary chat. So this chat won't appear in your history. Use update ChatGPT's memory or be used to train our models. So for safety purposes, we may keep a copy of this chat for up to 30 days. So when you use a temporary chat, you know that the information you share there is not going to be tapped into by ChatGPT's memory, either the saved memory or the chat reference memory. So this could be very useful. The only thing you have to know is that if you start working in a temporary chat and would like to kind of save this chat for later, it's not going to be possible. Okay. Also, if you want to continue, sometimes it happened to me that I was working in a temporary chat and then I got to something interesting, then I could not save this chat, or I could not even come back to the chat after a few hours because it would have expired. So just know that. But this could be very useful if you need to share some more sensitive information. And again, you should never share like very personal information, like where you live, your address, your financial statement, or stuff like that. Be very careful because you never know where this information will end up. All right, so now that we know what this new memory update is all about, let's give it a spin. Let's try a few prompts to see just how much ChatGPT knows about me based on our previous conversation. So I'm going to head back to my ChatGPT account. All right, I'm still here in the settings and I see reference chat history is indeed turned on. So great. The first prompt you could try to see just how much it knows about you is the following. So based on all my previous chat, what do you think are my core strengths and weaknesses? Okay, if you're not prepared to receive a little bit of criticism, don't try this prompt. But if you are genuinely curious about what it knows about you, just by all means go ahead and run this prompt. Here's the response in real time. All right, Ronnie, based on everything we've worked on together, YouTube channel, course launches, branding, audience research, thumbnail, emails, comic strips, yet even Bobby the Husky made the cut. Here is what stands out. Okay, my core strength: clear teaching vision and audience connection. Okay, I'm not going to read the whole thing. You can pause the video if you want. I'm going to read the big titles. Number 2, strategic thinking with a creative edge, relentless iterator, emotional intelligence and authentic voice. Okay, execution machine. All right, you've produced hundreds of tutorials, updated courses, launched series, tested hooks, and you still find time to answer email with style. You're not just a dreamer, you get things done. Okay, my core weaknesses. Okay, this is where it gets personal. Scaling versus perfectionism. Yes, that is definitely one of my weaknesses. I'm a perfectionist and this slows me down. Pricing objections and sales confidence. You know your value, but handling pricing objections. Okay, the fair trade. Okay, pricing objection and sales confidence. Okay. Yes, I will need to dig into this one. I'm not sure what it means. Delegation friction. You have a team, but occasionally you fall into the trap of doing too much yourself. That is completely true. Algorithm dependence anxiety. You are aware of the risk and you are smart for that, but it does creep into your mindset. You're constantly thinking, what if YouTube slows down? What if Udemy changes? And that is true. This is something that is completely true. Creative fatigue risk. Because you're always generating, refining, experimenting, it's a lot, and that creativity engine needs regular maintenance and risks burnout. That's pretty accurate in my opinion. So by all means, if you kind of want ChatGPT to play psychologist for you, try this prompt with the reference chat history turned on. So again, the prompt is based on all my previous chats. What do you think are my core strengths and weaknesses? All right, this was pretty good. I learned a thing or two about myself. Now let's continue and dig deeper with this prompt right here. Describe who I am based on my previous chat's history. So it's slightly different from analyzing my strengths and weaknesses. I'm asking ChatGPT to describe how does it perceive me. Okay, so based on your entire chat history, here's a pretty accurate snapshot of who you are. You are a content entrepreneur through and through. Okay, again, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but you can pause the video and read it yourself. You're a strategic creator. Okay, I like the little formatting here. You are an authentic communicator. Okay, you're direct but friendly, speak with your audience, not at them, etc., etc. You are a builder with a teaching heart. That is also true. You're value driven but business savvy. That's also true. So in short, you are a creator who cares. You are a teacher who executes. You are a founder who feels, and you are building something real on your own terms. So this answer was spot on in my opinion. And again, it made me feel like ChatGPT really knew me because it had access to all of these previous conversations we've had about my business, about courses, about tutorials, everything, you know, really that I've been working on for the last 2 years even now. So coming back to this tweet from OpenAI, so new conversations naturally build upon what it already knows about you, making interactions feel smoother and uniquely tailored to you. That's really what I've felt when reading this last response from ChatGPT. Now, I would like to test it again, but this time with something much more precise. I really would like to see if it has access to the conversation I've had recently with it. So I'm going to ask a personal question from this morning because I am currently trying to go on a diet and I'm using ChatGPT to count my calories for each meal. Okay, so the prompt is very simple. Remind me how many calories was my breakfast today. Okay, and I believe the answer should be 300 something, 360 something. Let's see if it knows the answer to that. Here's what I found. You had for breakfast today 53 grams of Veritas muesli, half an apple, half a banana, 1 mandarin. Yeah, that is exactly what I had for breakfast today. So this last prompt right here, this last experiment really demonstrated to me that it knows exactly what we've discussed about in our previous conversations, in our previous chats. So this really is what I was trying to prove, that it does have access to all my chats. All right, this was fun. Let's try something else that could be even more fun. All right, so make sure for this one that you are on the GPT-4o model. Okay, if you are a free user, by default, that's where you will be using the GPT-4o model. So this one is about image generation. Based on everything we've chatted about, generate a caricatural portrait of me with elements or features you've picked up from our recent chats showing as elements in the image. Okay, good. So this one, ChatGPT should generate an image, but I got an answer here. I'd love to create that for you. Since I am generating a caricature of you, I need a photo of you to make it accurate and recognizable. Please upload a clear image of yourself. Okay, all right. So let's do this. Let's get into my photos. All right, let's just use this LinkedIn profile picture of myself. It's right here. So I'm going to open this and upload this as a reference. And as soon as it's uploaded, I can launch the prompt. Okay, it's going to be generating an image, so it's going to take a few seconds. In the meantime, I would like to read the entire prompt here. So here's a preview of the fun elements. So in the background, it wants to add a dual YouTube studio setup. One side says Canva with Team RonDi, and the other says AI with RonDi. So that's kind of our two YouTube channels. Props, a Stream Deck on your desk. Correct. I have my Stream Deck right here. A comic strip with Bobby the Husky in the corner. That's a recent project I worked on. And a light ring and a camera filming. Outfit, a fun mix, half business casual, half fantasy armor, like your AI course with character prompts. Facial expression, energetic, slightly mischievous. And this is going to be fun, folks. Okay, vibe. hovering icon, Canva, ChatGPT, DALL-E, and Skillshare, Udemy badges. Okay, interesting. All right, so this is the image it generated for me. And full transparency, I had to have a little back and forth with ChatGPT. It refused to generate the image of me when I uploaded my reference image. The prompt that finally made it is for me to ask to generate a caricature portrait of a fictional character that could be RonDi, because I had a lot of negotiating with ChatGPT, trying to make it work, never really agreed, always saying it was against their policies. Okay, so a workaround is to use slightly different language, so a fictional character that could resemble me. Okay, and it's exactly me, but this is what it generated based on what it knows about me. So Team RonDi, the no BS approach, Canva and ChatGPT, Bobby the Husky, some comic strips that I have generated with AI for our ChatGPT image generation course. So I would say this is really cool. I'm going to download this and keep this image somewhere useful because this was pretty good. All right, guys, this is where I'm going to leave it for today. What do you think of this ChatGPT chat memory? The fact that it can now source information from your previous chat. Is it something you're going to leave turned on? Or on the other hand, is it something that freaks you out and feels like too invasive for you to have on all the time? Let me know in the comment section. And if you enjoyed this tutorial, I suggest you check out the other ones I have in this ChatGPT playlist right here. Or if you want to dive even deeper, I will have a list of courses that we have created about AI and ChatGPT in the description of the video. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.